I consider love as more of a duty. Obviously, in a scriptural sense, love as demonstrated by Christ is the act of sacrifice, self-sacrifice, total self-sacrifice, right? Christ showed us what ultimate love is, and even said there's no greater love than this, to lay one's life down for their friends. And that, I think right there, that's community. It's love so deep that you would give your life for your neighbor. We're live. Welcome to the Body Ascetic. My name is Matthew, and here we have our guest of the day, Mr. Peter. Brother Peter, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you so much, Matthew, for having me on the Body Ascetic. I really appreciate it. For your audience that might not know me, my name is Peter Hoffman.
They don't know you.
We're going to change that today. My name is Peter Hoffman, and I am a Orthodox Christian and a graphic designer, and I am also the founder of the Orthodox Small Business Alliance, and that is a growing community of Orthodox professionals and small business owners trying to band together to help in some way build a stronger Orthodox economy. Yeah, we have to teach ourselves how to keep the money in the family.
Yeah, that's right. I have a friend who's half Jewish, and he grew up, sort of in that world. And he was saying how, like, in the Jewish communities, money changes hands 7 times within the Jewish community before it leaves the community, like on average. So that's, it's a way of strengthening your own community when you have businesses supporting each other, customers supporting businesses. In this context, it's an Orthodox context, right? Orthodox Christian. So that's why today I wanted to have you on and talk a little bit about OSBA, but also talk about the larger subject about community and community building, because it's a talking point in kind of the larger conservative American circle in terms of sort of reversing and fighting back against the atomization of our lives. That is, for better or worse, it's a consequence of the modern culture that we exist in today. So, for example, I brought up the example before when we talked about this previously, living in a suburb, right? You're in like bunch of houses copy and pasted right next to each other, literally like 5 to 10 feet from each other. And you may live in these communities and not know your neighbor like for 5, 10 years. I grew up in the suburbs, and that was kind of how it was. We didn't know our neighbors other than just like, hey, when you see them every now and then. And then, like, personally, me, like, I've been renting practically my whole life. When you live in rental units in apartment buildings, your neighbors come and go, you come and go because you change leases and all that stuff. Plus, with the modern technology of cars and vehicles, and not to mention like social media and being online all the time, there's a lot more disconnect between personal relationships between people. So that's what I mean when I say atomization. Our culture has sort of siloed us all separately, and there's this greater conversation in also the mental health aspect of things, because we are in a mental health crisis, in the sense that like depression, loneliness, anxiety, all these things are like at all-time highs. Part of that is due to this atomization. And so there's a big push and a lot of effort from, let's say influencers, or like, what do they call them? Thought leaders. I hate that phrase, but thought leaders, right?
Face lords.
Face lords.
That's what's running these days in the Orthodox circles. Face lords. Well, at the term, at least, the terminology.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so they're making an effort to talk about community, encourage community building.
That's good, yeah.
But I wanted to talk about, well, what does community mean? Because I think a lot of times those same people have a misconception of what community means, or at least they focus on the positive aspects of community that a single individual will gain from being a part of a community. So a support system, a greater sense of fulfillment, and by consequence, happiness and things like that. But that comes with a price that we don't really talk about. And that price is sacrifice. Because like I mentioned before, like, I think they kind of talk about community as if it's a social circle, but it's more than a social circle, because a community requires investment from every member of the community. And that could be any number of things, but it's financial investment, it's sweat equity investment, so you have to give as much as you take. And we kind of focus more on the what do I get out of it versus what do I have to give.
Yeah.
So maybe talk about your experience with that and maybe how it relates to OSBA and your attempts to build this Orthodox community of business owners.
Yeah. Starting out, I just engage in simple questions, conversations, trying to take the time to get to know the people that I reach out to. And I think I've pushed past uh, a sort of awkward phase where there seems to be some momentum behind it. Well, also too, it's because uh, well, there's already quite a bit of momentum behind orthodoxy, uh, in this very moment. So people are excited, and people are um, kind of gung ho about looking to build. It's a new frontier. People are unsatisfied with what they're leaving behind, with whatever tradition they're coming from, and joining a whole new, growing community already. So everything's kind of fun and new, I suppose. And so that already has a lot of excitement there.
Have you in your parish? Because I feel like in my parish and in parishes previously, there's always talk about building like an Orthodox commune. Do people talk
Yeah.
about that in Riverside, where it's like we build like a greater Orthodox community, like pretty much a village, right? So we talked about village mentality
Yeah.
because in the old days, villages were centered and communities were centered around the church, right? Like literally, that you lived like a 5-minute walk from the
Mm.
church, and there's a desire to recreate that in America, and it's challenging because it requires a lot of land, right? Number one, and it's hard to kind of get people again because we have this mentality or this culture of like individualism and atomization to then, like we said, like you have to actually like contribute and put skin in the game in order to build and be a part of a community like this. And so I haven't seen anyone actually attempt to do it successfully is what I'm trying to get at actually.
Oh, well, yeah. I think it's going to take some time. We have to take a few cracks at it, but there are most certainly folks at my parish who firstly already live around that neighborhood, who do indeed walk to church, which is, a blessing for them. And there are folks that don't live too far away. And then there are some folks who are interested in who actually own property around the location where they rent out their homes that they own to parishioners, which is great. And I think we're looking to do more. There's been attempts to buy land, so that's and build homes in like a central location, but it's all slow going. There's a lot of roadblocks, but most certainly interest. I think there's a, there's quite a I think there's a few sort of Orthodox villages that are sprinkled around the U.S. that I've heard about here and there, and some that are in the midst of growing, you know, uh, you know, being established now even. But I think it's most certainly on people's minds to do that kind of thing. We hear about the Amish, and right now they're
Right.
they're looking like they got it going on.
Yeah.
They probably had a good idea a while ago.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're gonna start villages right next to theirs, right?
Yeah, we got to convert the Amish.
Right.
I think there's some even material and economic exchange that goes on between Orthodox folks and Amish folks, because they're into natural products,
Yeah.
not unpasteurized milk and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of folks who come into the church who are into that kind of stuff, traditional natural things and stuff like that.
Right, farmers market type stuff. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I guess that's kind of unfair of me to say that I don't know about successful Orthodox villages because I do know that a lot of kind of I would say impromptu communities are like popping up around monasteries,
But yeah, I've heard of
right?
some such things.
Yeah, and it's really fascinating because you're familiar with Geronda Ephraim. Some people would say Saint Ephraim. His journey and inspiration from the Theotokos, the Holy Mother, to come to America and establish a monastic rule, essentially, here in America. He established, what, I don't know, like 13 monasteries or something like that. And it was very interesting to me because he fell asleep in the Lord, like, right before COVID happened.
Mm.
And it was almost like, to me, that was like his mission from God, was to start these monastic communities as like a place of refuge for us in the world, to have a place to go during a time like COVID, because that's pretty much where everyone went. It's like everyone fled to the monasteries. So it was really cool to see that, and to, after the fact, it's like, okay, that's why the Theotokos, inspired Yoronda Ephraim to do what he did. And thank God for that, right? Thank God for having access to monasteries, Mount Athos-esque monasteries, right? Not just any kind of monastery, but modeled after the Mount Athos rule. So, yeah, God willing, we all get to, end up in a community where we're surrounded by, a monastery or church or something like that. So, yeah, it's tough too, because even in my own self, I'm a very individualist person. And when I was younger, I've done some growing, hopefully, since I was a teenager. But when I was young, it's like kind of my natural inclination was very individualistic, to the point where, like, anything that hampered or limited my freedom, I was like the worst thing ever. It was like an enemy to me, which means even like familial obligations, like friendship obligations. It's like I hated when people expected me to do things. But that's how relationships are. It's like there's a give and take, and there's expectations there. And I mean, at the end of the day, all relationships are transactional, right? And so I had to kind of learn to humble myself and my pride in order to establish a greater, let's say, social network and support system that wasn't just surface level. What I'm trying to say is, like, having more than just like a bunch of acquaintances. Like, you have actual friends that you can rely on, and that you help, and then they help you. And so, I don't think I'm alone in that, in terms of having that individualistic mentality and desire for freedom, because that's very much I guess, like a product, a remnant of the kind of American individualist, pioneering mentality that this whole country was founded on. And I mean, like, literally, like, pioneers were literally just going out west and just sticking a stick in a stake of land and just being like, this is mine now, right? And then just building, and like, that's how the country was founded, right? And to then shift that mentality to, where I am contributing to a parish more than just attending liturgy. Like, I'm being part of parish council, I'm, and being involved in fundraising, or I'm part of the choir, or whatever it may be, and doing Sunday school. It's hard. I mean, it really is hard, because it's one of those things that's like, it requires something from you. And we're already working full-time jobs. We're already pursuing starting businesses. We already have families and all these obligations. And then to add more obligation in terms of being a part of and building a community, an Orthodox community within the church, it's challenging. It really is challenging.
Yeah. I think it is challenging, but it's going to vary from person to person. That might be, a cross for you to bear. Though I find it quite fun uh, to be involved in a lot of things. It can be overwhelming, but when you maybe get a chance to breathe and look back, you'll be amazed by all the things you might have accomplished. Yeah, but again, I think it's pretty fun, because then you always have something to think about. You always have something to look forward to. Look forward to doing something. So I don't know. I think that's pretty fun. That's fun stuff.
Yeah, and it's also like, it. I don't want to say it forces you, but it builds a sense of love in your heart, right? To sacrifice for something greater than yourself, and for others specifically.
Yeah.
And that's always been a struggle for me. Like you said, a cross to bear. Um, Trying to grow your heart to
Yeah.
allow for more love to dwell in there.
Yeah.
And, you know, like we discussed how we feel when we drive past someone like passed out on the road or like a homeless person, and you're like, I feel like I should do something or help or whatever, but then, you know, your instinct takes over and you just drive past them, and
Yeah.
then you have this sense of guilt, like, oh man, I should have done something. And maybe if I was more charitable, if I had more love in my heart, I would do something, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
that's so hard because you also don't maybe even realize how much effect you can have or how much you actually are able to do because you're thinking, well, what can I do? What can I even offer and to anyone? But uh, maybe in the beginning you might not have an idea, but it takes that willingness to even move toward the person who needs help, and then perhaps God then equips you with the ability to help that person, or to find a resource for that person, or even just like again the willingness to travel closer to that person, and then the God will help that situation just
mhm.
without you having to do much of anything. But yeah, it is. I feel like sometimes that you're not always so consistent, because then you might doubt yourself, you might second guess yourself, and so it could be hit or miss.
Yeah, it reminds me of something my priest said when he was talking about this exact thing. Like, if you come across someone, you know, homeless person or whatever, someone on the side of the road with a sign, right? Um,
Just
you know,
laying on the ground.
or just laying pass out on the ground. Um, well, this wouldn't work for the person passed out on the ground, but for the person with the sign, he was like, if you don't have money, the least, you know, you can offer a smile,
Oh
right?
yeah,
That, like, that's the very least you can offer.
acknowledging that person, that they're alive and you
Exactly.
see them.
Acknowledging their humanity.
Yeah.
Which may actually backfire because sometimes I've gotten like homeless
Get
guys
followed
yell at
home.
me because I looked at them. So, but in any case, our very demeanor and our countenance can express Christian love. So, you know,
Yeah.
that is something that we can offer.
Well, I like what Father Spirit and Bailey said. He said, just do what you can and hold them in your prayer. So I'm always thinking about that. Well, like, what can I do? What do I have? What could I even offer somebody? But sometimes, I fail so often, and I just keep driving by. It's terrible, and I pray for a change or something. Maybe I'll stop one of these days and help somebody.
Well, even just a prayer for that person
Yeah.
while you're driving by
Yeah. I
is
sign them
big.
with the sign of
It's
the
huge.
cross.
There you go, man. Because how often are they getting the sign of the cross,
Yeah. Yeah, the
right?
other day, the guy who I was a blessing looked at me, and then I was like, "Oh, he saw me!" Like they don't
Hide.
usually see me. Then I drove by, gave him the thumbs up.
He was like, "What is that guy doing? Casting a spell on me or
Yeah,
something?"
probably. I was spell of love.
Spell of love. I love that.
Yeah, man. But communities, they come up. I bet there's community. There's so much community probably around us that probably invisible. You could be passing by someone who's so enthralled in a community, and you had no idea where it might even be. Because people's lives are dynamic, and whether they go to their local post office and they know everyone, or perhaps their local something YMCA and they know a lot of people there. So sometimes
I don't know
community
anybody at the gym. I go to the same gym every day.
sometimes community can almost feel like it's invisible, and you just have to get involved, tapped in, and then before you know it, like you start, hey, I know that person, and you start seeing people around town, and it's only just because of your own self you were unwilling to look, or maybe just not even really the idea didn't even dawn on you, and then start getting involved little by little. But I think it takes a willingness, though, right? You have to be
Exactly.
wanting
Exactly.
to look for something like that.
Exactly. And wanting to contribute to something like that.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking about when I was thinking about this topic in the Cain and Abel story, right? Cain says, like, what am I, my brother's keeper?
Right, it's hot, cold.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what we ought to be in a community. We ought to be our brother's keeper. And I was thinking about this, you know, and context of the atomization of our, current society. And, the government, through welfare programs and bureaucracy in that context of, like, whatever SNAP or whatever programs are for, the poor, the, low income. When the government takes over that role, they're kind of saying, like, you don't have to be your brother's keeper. We'll take care of that. And it kind of absolves the rest of us of responsibility to help those in our communities. And especially, like, more disparaged communities, right? Being your brother's keeper would really support and improve and thrive those disparaged communities. But because of this kind of welfare state that we've built, I think that responsibility has been absolved in a way that we don't, like, think, like, it's not my problem, that person
Yeah.
passed out on the street, it's not my problem, right? Like, someone will find him, someone,
Because
whatever.
sometimes issues could be too hot to handle, and it's a mess. You don't want to get, all messed up and entangled in so much of that, because then you can maybe get pulled down. And then it becomes a matter of discernment. Like, oh man, maybe I should have just, stayed away.
Yeah, well, like we said before in our conversation before this, like, you kind of make yourself vulnerable, right? When
Yeah.
you offer help, when you offer a hand. It's like the image of, like, someone drowning and you offer your hand to pull them out, and then they pull you in,
Yeah.
right, into the water, and then you're both drowning. So there's something to be said about that for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I was kind of saying that, like, especially for us with hard hearts like me, we should start in the community of the church to practice charity and almsgiving and brotherly love for neighbor, I should say, because those are people that we see frequently and that we know,
Yeah.
right? And trust a little bit. I hope more than a little bit, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so we have to start there. If we can't even do that, then how are we supposed to, show love of neighbor for the bloodied guy that was robbed and mugged, that the Samaritan passed by? Because that's basically the same story, right? It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
That's a
see
good
a,
point.
guy lying on the side of the road.
Like,
The
I don't
Samaritan
want
is,
none of that mess.
yeah, exactly. And he doesn't know, like, what happened to that guy,
Yeah.
Could have been a gangster and it was a gang fight,
Yeah.
who knows?
He might have
Right?
had Ebola and just got
Yeah.
messed up.
Truly, honestly, right? So
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said there, but that just shows our own weakness, our own limitation, right? In terms of our faith, because it takes a lot of trust in God that, like, what I'm doing here is not going to end up in my, to my detriment,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think it takes like small steps. Like, I try to make it a point to like smile and wave hello and say hello and good morning, happy Lord's Day to folks at church. Sometimes people that get caught up in their own lives, or they just like, I saw you like 100 times already. But I try to wave and say hello to them like it's like the first time that I saw them or something.
Yeah. Or even, like, especially if you're in a bigger parish, but even in small parishes, there's people that you don't interact with, right? Like, and even in churches, right, people tend to kind of click,
Yeah,
and
I don't like
you
to
have,
get clicky.
right. So even just making an effort to make a connection with someone you don't interact with every Sunday,
Yeah, yeah,
right, is an effort towards community building.
yeah,
Even
yeah,
if it's that, like, weird guy with the disheveled hair, like, in the corner that, kind of keeps to himself, like, especially that guy is, who we should reach out to and, just establish a relationship with.
yeah,
And, the church, when I talked about the government, providing welfare, in the old days, it was the church that pretty much did that. The church took
yeah,
care of the poor and the widows and the orphans,
yeah,
right? And the church obviously was supported financially and otherwise through the local community.
yeah,
I love that model, right? Because, if we have resistance in our heart to helping someone directly that may need it, we can at the very least um, offer our help and assistance, like I said, financially or otherwise, to the church, and by extension, that goes to the poor and the needy and the sick. in the community of the church, but even outside the community of church. So even, we do outreach beyond just helping members of the parish.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I was just about to say, like, joining a church ministry is a great way to get your feet wet. And,
Hmm.
it could be a great first step to becoming accustomed to helping folks. And then before you know it, you're helping your neighbors and you're helping people down the street and, stuff like that. And it kind of becomes, you gain momentum, and it could even become like addictive, like in a really good way. Cause you're just like, wow, I helped that person. And like, I feel really great. Like, and like, where's the next thrill? Like, I want to help somebody.
So you're in it for the thrills. I'm just kidding.
I'm just saying, like, this is something that I might have experienced. I was like, that was really cool. I've never
Well,
done that.
that's part of your reward, right? That's part of
Yeah.
your
I've
reward
never
is
felt
that.
that way before. I want to do it again. What is it going to be like? Yeah.
Well, thank God. I mean, I would say that's a bit of grace, that
Yeah, it
feeling.
could be. Yeah. That's really interesting. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah. So yeah, we definitely need to make a concerted effort to combat the atomization of us. And I don't know, man, social media is one of those like really like detrimental tools that have really kind of destroyed the human spirit in so many ways. And one of them is definitely that sense, because you don't have friends anymore, you have followers, right? And you kind of only see like you only see the good stuff of someone's life, right? You only see what they want you to see, versus like a real friendship when you're seeing the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And it's in the bad and the ugly is when true connections are really formed.
Yeah.
So we have to prioritize, and it's ironic I'm saying this, prioritize human interpersonal connection in the real world as we are having a phone call over the internet.
Well, I
At
don't know
least we got webcams, right? So I can see your face.
I was about to say, I don't know what you're talking about, because I scroll X and I just see nothing but destruction all over the world. I think
X
you're
is the
talking about,
worst platform.
I think you're talking about Instagram, where everyone's on like a yacht vacation or something.
I am talking about Instagram because I'm on Instagram all the time. You're on X all the time.
I just see like things that are like burning, people getting blown up.
Lovely. Yeah, X is one of those platforms I tried to get into, but it's just, I don't get it. Let's just put it that way. I don't get it.
Well, I like what Father Peter Hears says. I've heard it from him, at least, where he says, if you're depressed, go and help your neighbor, go and help someone, get your mind off of you, go do something for someone else. That's the best way to, get out of a state of depression. I think that's really practical information that people should act on.
Well, that's exactly right, because the saints say that depression is a form of pride,
Oh, interesting.
right? It's because it's self-centered. It's entirely self-centered. It's what was me. My life sucks. Everything sucks. You know, um, and people are going to argue with me about depression, and it's a clinical disease and it's biological and yada yada yada. And it's well, it's multifaceted, but at its root is in the spiritual.
Yeah,
It's a spiritual disease.
demonic attack. You're being assaulted.
Exactly.
Get up.
Exactly.
Do something.
So, well, not do something to help someone else is the
Exactly.
exact solution, because that's the opposite of demonic, right? That's heavenly.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right. And, that's another thing that is so great about our faith, in that we start to see and understand the metaphysical, which is the true pattern of what's happening around us and situations that we encounter. And that the battle in that metaphysical world is the spiritual battle. And so pretty much everything, I mean, I say pretty much everything boils down to the spiritual life. And people that don't have that discernment, that are more materialistic, worldly, secular in their thinking, which is a lot of us. I mean, even me, like sometimes I kind of get stuck in that mode of thinking, because that's the zeitgeist. That's the whole culture around us. And we think of things as biological or as psychological or whatever. But the root of every issue goes down to this the spiritual. How can I put this? Like, even the struggle of individual and community, it's a spiritual battle because an individualist mindset, not to say that there's no room for the individual, but the individualist mindset is self-centered, right? It's centered on me and what I want to do and my freedom and my desires and me, right? Versus community, where it's like, I don't want to use the term greater good, but that's like kind of what the world understands, right? It's like the selfish pursuit of the individual or the selfless pursuit of the greater good that, impacts the greater world around us. That's a spiritual battle too.
Yeah.
Obviously, the devil wants us to be focused on ourselves. And so the solution is to focus on others. And I remember, I think it's a C.S. Lewis who has this quote that's like, humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less.
Yeah, that's great. I like that one. Yeah, we need to stop thinking about how we're going to use our time in a selfish way, but how we can use our time to help others. Like during Lent, they tell us to get out, go visit someone who's maybe sick or maybe shut in, because that's spiritual almsgiving. It's a form of almsgiving. It's how you spend your time. There's like spiritual economics in heaven. Like if you rather than spend your time pleasing yourself, but you give up your time to go and help someone else, you're gaining points in heaven. You're gaining you're acquiring wealth in heaven, because
Let's go for that high score.
yeah, because you're using your time to follow through with, like, God's law.
Mm-hmm.
Love thy neighbor.
But who's my neighbor?
Well, actually, that's great. I've learned through my parish that your neighbor is anyone who you meet. So if if we believe our faith, then God governs all things. Therefore, God may have put that someone in your path.
My priest had a homily on the Good Samaritan a few weeks ago, and he said something that was really cool when he was talking about that, where I think it was a lawyer, right? He was like, "Who's my neighbor?" Right?
Oh, right.
And Christ didn't say, "Oh, your neighbor is XYZ." He said, "Who was neighbor to the man who was mugged and made bloody and was on the side of the road?" And the guy said, "Oh, well, it was the Samaritan," right? So, and he said, "Go and do likewise, be the neighbor."
Yeah.
So he didn't respond with him telling him who's your neighbor. Your neighbor is the Jews. Your neighbor is the Gentiles. Whatever. He basically was like, "You be the neighbor."
Nice.
Right. He's getting them to realize that you be the neighbor.
So like the neighbor is like more of a title. Like you have to earn your title as a neighbor.
Yeah. Right.
That's cool. I like that.
Well, that kind of goes back to what we're saying about, having to contribute to a community. Like you can't just take, you have to give.
Yeah.
You have to
No
be part of
moochers.
it. So
no
moochers here, dude. Yeah. If you want a neighbor, you gotta be a neighbor.
Yeah,
for
but
sure.
so sometimes it takes a while for us to have these ideas get through to our thick skulls.
Of course.
So, you just have to keep helping and helping and helping until maybe one day someone might, it might all click and they're like, oh, this is what I have to be doing.
Yeah, for sure. And I would even say, because I've struggled with this myself with the whole love aspect. Again, I feel like I'm always quoting saints and I'm like, I never remember which saint said what. So I need to like come up with a list of all saint quotes. But a saint basically said that if you don't have the love in your heart to do charitable acts and to act with almsgiving, then start doing them in a mechanical way and through prayer and doing the acts themselves and in cooperation with the Holy Spirit, God will grant you that love through grace over time. And so, because a lot of people, it's like, oh, I don't feel anything. I don't feel it. Like I don't have a feeling to do something.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not a requirement. Like you should do it first of all, out of duty. It goes back to, I think it was the parable about the wine dressers. I don't know. I'm so bad with the Bible, man. I'm too Orthodox. I'm not Protestant enough. I don't know my Bible well enough. Christ says, for the or what did the loyal servants say? They say, we are unworthy and unprofitable servants. We've only done what is our duty to do. I always think about that. I think about that, and I try to embody that in pretty much every aspect, because if, for example, my wife was thanking me for doing something today, I don't even remember what it was. And I was like, it's my duty. Like, you know, thank you, but like, I don't need to be thanked. It's like, it's literally my duty, and I do it out of that sense of duty. I think a lot of people, maybe it's not fair to say this, but definitely in the greater world at large, beyond Orthodoxy, especially in terms of relationships, like romantic relationships, people operate in an emotional way and in a way of feeling. You know, they think love is a feeling inside. It's a warm, fuzzy butterflies, right? But that's not love. Love is an action. Love is repeated action, and that action is sacrifice. That's because I think love and duty kind of go hand in hand, right? You do acts of love towards your spouse, towards your parents, towards your brother and sister, towards your friends, because it's your duty to do that. Like, in those relationships that operate on duty are what last, right? People that you know, have that warm fuzzy feeling, whatever, in a sexual and non-sexual way, then they get married, let's say, and, you know, 5 years down the line, if it lasts even that long, it's like those warm fuzzy feelings go away.
Yeah.
Then what's left, right? Love to that person are those feelings. Well, feelings are fleeting. So I consider love as more of a duty. Obviously, in a scriptural sense, love, as demonstrated by Christ, is the act of sacrifice, self-sacrifice, total self-sacrifice, right? Christ showed us what ultimate love is, and even said there's no greater love than this, to lay one's life down for their friends. And that, I think, right there, that's community. It's love so deep that you would give your life for your neighbor. And I think we should all ask ourselves, like, would I give my life for the person standing next to me in church? Like, personally, it's like, I don't even think I'm there yet. Like, as much as I love my parish and the people at church, it's like, that takes a great amount of love and sense of duty to be able to do that. And I mean, actually do that, not like say to yourself, oh yeah, totally, I'll give my life for my friends. Sure. Like, cause everyone says that, but it's like, you don't understand what you're saying. Like,
Yeah. That's hard.
especially if you're in, you know, have a wife and children, it's like you're sacrificing everything for someone else. But I think that's ultimately, that's what a Christian community is, an Orthodox community is. We're so entwined and have such love for each other, such out of grace and through the Holy Spirit, we have the love of Christ, that we're willing to die for each other. And if we're
Hopefully.
willing to do that, we're willing to do anything else. Bring soup to you when you're sick, or take care of you when you're sick, or help, you know, a brother that's financial, you know, needs help financially, like doesn't have a job and his only car broke down or whatever. It's like we work our way up, right? We work our way up to the ultimate point of being willing to die for our friends in our community, because
Yeah.
that's what Christ did for us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. On that note, I think it's so important to have community building, which is kind of my hope for OSBA, is that we don't have to, like, the only thing we can do for someone is set up like a GoFundMe. We should be strong enough to, you know, provide a job for somebody. You got laid off, I'm so sorry about that. Come work for me. I'll give you a job. Or
Right.
like, let's start a company for you so that you can run your own business. Here, let me show you how it's done. You know, but what I want you to do is to do what I'm doing for you for someone else when the time comes, you know. Just pass that
Exactly.
on. I think that would be really cool. Community.
Today you, tomorrow me.
Something like that.
Yeah, and definitely, like, and in order to get there with the OSBA, it requires everyone that wants to be part of OSBA to contribute to that becoming a reality,
Yeah,
right?
everyone else have to figure out in what way they're willing to, in what way they might be inspired to do so, and how long that might take them to figure that out. Yeah, so a lot of dynamics there.
Well, for sure, yeah. But something as big as what you're trying to do, and ambitious with OSBA, it requires a community to build.
Yeah, yeah. It can't just come
And
from one person.
exactly. And so, on that note, I love the mission of OSBA. I think it's I think it's amazing. I think it's what Orthodoxy needs. And God willing, with his blessing, it will grow, and that we all together, contribute to help you and make it grow. And that means that, ultimately, God willing, when it's big enough, we can start opening local chapters of OSBA. And I think that's really where it's gonna shine, because right now, we have quite a few members, right? Almost 100 members, at least in the Telegram channel, but we're all kind of spread out throughout the country.
Yeah.
Right. But once we have a OSBA that's big enough that we can have local chapters, then you have direct connections with your neighbor that you can, make with. I know this person has a candle making business, so I'm going to buy candles from them. And I myself am a personal trainer or whatever. So I can, I have brothers that want to get trained. And so that we have an actual in-person local economy within the Orthodox population, which is going to be amazing. So God willing, we'll get there and we'll help you make it happen, Peter.
Not me. Don't do it for me. It's I mean, I feel like I'm doing OSBA to just show people that that this is what can be done. This is maybe what you should do. Take the idea, run with it, make it your own. I do think that there should be redundancy and overlap, because what if OSBA gets shut down? And then what? You all relied too much on one thing. But who knows? But I mean, it's not a unique idea. If you look to many other groups, there's some sort of business groups or whatnot. But yeah.
Yeah, but I like the idea of OSBA, of like a kind of an overarching organization with local extensions
Yeah.
throughout the country, because it's a little less haphazard that way, and there's some cohesion beyond the local community. There can be some support system from the parent umbrella system to support the local scale.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Versus just like every parish has just like their own thing that they're doing, because I don't think that stuff lasts very long. And especially because, again, we're talking about community, and, people might be into it and think it's such a great idea, but then over time, it's like no one really pushes for it to keep it going and to make it like something that to survive the test of time. And that's what I hope for, pray for with OSBA.
Mm.
And I like what you said about redundancy, because I think that is an important point that will help its survivability in the long term. But ultimately, it's going to come down to all of our individual contributions to make it work.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, may be blessed.
Yeah. God willing.
Do you have any closing thoughts or anything you'd like to talk about else in terms of OSBA or anything we've talked about?
Well, if there's any Orthodox brother or sister out there who's into commercial property development, let us make yourselves known. We're looking for you. We've got some ideas I'd like to share.
Well, how should they get in touch with you?
Just reach out to OSBA Instagram, Orthodox Small Business Alliance Instagram, X account, Telegram
That is
account.
at OSB Alliance, right?
Yeah, OSB_Alliance for X, and then I think it's OSB Alliance on Instagram.
Links will be in the description
There you
of
go.
this video.
There you go. But yeah, I mean, there's tons of ideas, but it's just a matter of like willingness and some sort of economic awareness. I was watching an episode of Father Josiah. He was talking to Father Justin or John, forget, anyways, but he was saying how I don't know if I should be saying this, but it's on his channel anyways. He was saying that he could go from one location to the next, pointing out where there are whole wings of hospitals that were funded, endowed by Orthodox people. And he was saying that some of these hospitals, they do terrible, unfortunate, horrific things like abortion, and you have Orthodox people dropping the guap on these, secular hospitals. But that's nice and all, but where's an Orthodox hospital? Where's an Orthodox university? Where's an Orthodox gas station? I want everything Orthodox now. If it's true that we cast a vote with every dollar that we spend, well, what kind of world have you voted to live in today? And I think OSBA, I know I certainly do. I want to ask that really uncomfortable question. It's like, where's your money going? That's what I want to know.
To Israel.
Why'd you? I was kidding. Just blew the top off. And we're funding our own demise. What's up? What y'all doing with your money? Anyhow.
Yeah. Well, I think there's something to be said about how, so many hands trying to get in your pocket, right?
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, we do need to be mindful of whose hand is in our pocket. And so some things we have no say over, right? The government is going to have their hand in our pocket.
Yeah.
But we can tithe to the church. And Father Josiah says that tithing 10% is like absolute minimum. And it's like, you're not even really a Christian if you're only tithing 10%. Like we said, that the church is the focal point of like the community and supporting the community with taking care of the needy. So your contributions to the church, tithing and beyond that, is for that. It's ultimately for that, right? So we shouldn't be shy about giving our money to the church.
Yeah. Well, I even heard Father Moses McPherson say that you're probably not even tithing anything because you think you can't, but you should be tithing what is proportionate to your ability or whatever, your income, whatever the case might be. Because then what he says is that, how can God trust you with the big things if you can't even be trusted with the small things?
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And it's the widow's mites, right? Like like, I mean, that I don't know what value that currency is, but it's like, give $1. Like, I mean, like no one's that poor that you can't give like $1, even if it's $1 for the whole year.
I could probably even find $1, and it's hard being a graphic designer. You gotta scrape for that dollar.
For sure, for sure. But if you give me that $1, I will multiply it, and God will multiply it and give you back $10 more. And I'm just kidding. That's the seed money of the televangelists. Anyways, maybe that joke was in poor taste, but
poor taste.
But it's always a pleasure talking to you, Peter. I appreciate you coming on the Body Ascetic and humoring me with this discussion. I think it's an important topic.
It is a pleasure talking to me. And it was nice talking to you too. Sorry. My apologies.
That was in poor taste.
Tit for tat.
It's always a pleasure, and may God bless OSBA and all your efforts, and may all our efforts be blessed in building systems and communities that ultimately are for the glory of God and honor Christ, because if it's not for those reasons, it's not going to work out. Under Christ, there's no Jew or Greek, there's no slave or free. We're all one in Christ, and He is our unifier, and He is the head of our community as Orthodox. So I will leave it at that. That will be our lasting lesson and reminder. And so Godspeed, everyone. Peter, thank you so much for being on the show again, and looking forward to the next time and the next discussion.
God's help.
Indeed. Take care, everyone. Godspeed, and we'll see you next time.
Ciao.
Ciao.